Well, welcome into the Dirty Pocket. And we're going to call this the post-game show this week because we are coming hot off the ending of the Dallas Cowboys New Orleans Saints game. And I am joined by my one and only partner in crime, the scout and future general manager, Daniel Kelly. My friend, how are we tonight following that incredible game?
You lost me at incredible.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
No, I hear you. No, as a Washington fan, you lost me. You lost me at hello there, Stacy. But no, I'm great. It's a little bit after midnight in Key West, Florida. I'm fired up, ready to go after working 9 hours on my article for Sports Illustrated Detroit Lions today or yesterday now. Basically, I'm watching 9 games in order to write the article. I'm here, fired up, ready to go. Put the ball on the tee. Let's roll.
I love it. So if you're keeping track out there, folks, Mr. Kelly writes for the AFC and the NFC. He is also covering the New York Jets. He covers the Detroit Lions and the NFC. This is an ever-growing portfolio of work. He is doing all sorts of coverage on NFL draft diamonds. And oh my God, he also happens to be a Washington football team fan and married to a Dallas Cowboys fan. So my God, it's football, football, football.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well, Samantha's going to be happy because she is especially requested a little shout out tonight. So to tell the world how happy she is about the victory. Of course, she has a Cowboys tattoo on her arm, right? Okay. And of course, me, right? Can we see that on the audience there?
Wow.
Yeah, that's after the name change. I got that with the date of my interview when I went out there. So, yeah, it's a house divided. But as we tell everybody, it's true love.
Yeah, so let's jump right into that game and let's honor the wife's shout out. The
Absolutely.
Dallas Cowboys tonight beat the New Orleans Saints, led by a quarterback that just got a $40 million contract, and I'm not sure how after the end of this game, and a Cowboys team that's led by a guy that's starting to creep into Defensive Player of the Year conversations, Mr. Micah Parsons, one of your personal favorites. Never mind Trevon Diggs, who continues to just have 9 interceptions. Are you kidding me? Let's talk about this game. What did you see? And then we'll talk about the impact on the Washington football team. What did you see in this game? Because I got all sorts of stuff.
Well, I saw some things, all right. I saw some things. I saw a terrible call on a blindside block that probably every show in America is going to be talking about this week. First of all, blindside, that was a clean, good block. It really took the Saints completely out of the rest of what was remaining of their game and kind of just broke the game wide open for Dallas. That was alarming how bad of a call that was. I also saw probably one of the absolute worst efforts on defense I've ever seen in my life with number 43 of the New Orleans Saints. So was it Marcus Williams? Is it they said he was trying to take an angle to the ball. I think Troy Aikman was being way too kind when he said that because what I saw was somebody who purposely kind of hit the brakes, slowed up, and basically was nothing more than a police escort into the end zone for for that Cowboys touchdown there. So that's something that reminded me of the safety play in Detroit watching that guy. I mean, number 43, the Saints should be real happy I'm not the GM of the New Orleans Saints because he'd actually get cut in the locker room tonight if I was.
Oh man, I tell you what, that was such an ugly optic on national TV. I get it.
Or that's a bad look, as they say.
As a guy who played safety in high school, rather weakly, I might add, I know that he was running up straight parallel with him because he was afraid of the cutback. In fact, LaMichael James, you remember the great LaMichael James, University of Oregon, didn't pan out in the NFL as well. He was tweeting like, what is he doing? And it seemed to me like it did look like an escort to the end zone. It was such a bad optic.
Escort. It was awful. It was terrible.
Isn't he the same kid that missed the pass to Diggs in the Vikings playoff game?
Miracle? I think it is.
I think it's the same exact kid. So it's one of those optics on national TV. You just go, good God, man. What? And then just kind of pushed him as he scored a touchdown. It was bad. That blindside call was pathetic. And it's one of many that we've seen this year in the NFL. I've seen some just ridiculously bad calls week in and week out. It's crazy. So Okay.
Yeah. Well, tonight, just before we go any further, number 43 of the Saints, Marcus Williams. He wins my Jamie Collins of the Week award, who I think is the most underachieving linebacker in the National Football League. That he wins the award tonight. I have certain awards I hand out, the different players that kind of fit that mold, and so that's he wins that award for the greatest underachiever in the National Football League this week. So congratulations, number 43, stolen our paycheck.
So look at this. The Dirty Pocket now is creating its own awards. We may have an award show in the near future, but we got the Jamie Collins Award for most underachieving effort on national TV and Thursday Night Football, courtesy of Daniel Kelly. I mean, God, that was bad. So, okay, man, as a guy who's had an ongoing war with the Parsons family, let's hear it.
Literally.
This kid,
literally.
I know that he is. Let's just get this out of the way, and then I'm just going to turn you loose. He is not a linebacker in the true sense of the word linebacker. He just isn't. But when that kid comes off the edge, he has a closing speed on a quarterback that's absolutely unreal. He has 10 sacks in his rookie season, and this is with them not really seeming to know what to do with him yet. He also was key in that incredible interception by Curse in knocking the ball, deflecting the ball, if you will, up the sideline, and then Curse making an unbelievable interceptions. Micah Parsons is making plays, man. Now, we followed your writings on all the sites. We've been on the Dirty Pocket talking about Micah and Dad. Where are you now? I mean, this guy's making plays. 10 sacks. 10 sacks. Where are we, Kelly?
Absolutely. Well, I knew it. Hey, thanks for the setup. I
just went after you.
Yeah, well, that's nice. You put the ball in the tee. First of all, let's do instead of a sound check, let's do a reality check. Because you talk about rookie of the year. Okay. I'm going with Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle, Los Angeles Chargers. Because we don't have a one of those beep beep, those buttons on the show or anything like that. But let me put it mildly as I can. He kicked Parsons' ass when they played against the Cowboys. Wasn't a competition. Stalemate him at the point of attack. Embarrassing, Micah. Slater embarrassed you. That guy, I mean, Slater's got allowed 3 sacks this season. That's a guy. Now, the thing about Slater, okay, now, first of all, I didn't say he was going to be a bust in terms of like not being draftable. And my everything's time and date stamped. That's the beautiful thing about putting reports out there. They age like fine wine. Because what happens is I gave Parsons a first-round grade on Draft Diamonds pre-draft. I called him an explosive underachiever. He's a guy that basically let's do me a favor here, okay? Do you have our statistician, which is you as well, right? Okay,
I'll take on that role if you want me to, but okay, good, because you wear lots of hats tonight. QB1 and statisticians, 2 of them. Okay, so as I'm talking, if you could go on the internet there for us, please, for a second, and tell us if you can see stats on how many yards Taysom Hill, okay? Oh no.
And we're not talking about Barry Sanders. We're not talking about the Galloping Ghost. We're talking about Taysom Hill, okay? How many yards did he have rushing tonight for the New Orleans Saints? If you can find that out as we're talking. I think at one point I saw like 75 in the second half, 12 in the first half. Do you have a number for us, Stacy?
I'll tell you right now, the total on the Saints rushing yards, and I'm not sure that we can attribute, I know that we can't attribute all of these to Taysom Hill. Apparently we can. As you can tell, this is post-show and we're flying off the cuff here. He ran for 100 yards and threw 4 interceptions. Did he throw 4 picks tonight?
I think so,
wow.
Yeah. But he ran for
100 yards. Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Micah Parsons, linebacker, and Taysom Hill.
So he runs so fast, he's so good. Then how in the heck is somebody like Taysom Hill running for 100 yards if this guy is so good? I can tell you how he's doing it, because Micah Parsons is probably taking those plays off, just like he did at Penn State, just like he did for the first 3-4 weeks of the season when I documented Draft Diamonds, had all the plays and stats. I provided all the video footage. I'm not like one of these guys in America that gets paid underneath the table to sing a song about Micah Parsons and all that kind of stuff. I talk about the games I watched, the proof that I have. And so, listen, if you put me on the edge and let me just run at the quarterback straight on, not give me blocked, I probably could get to Taysom Hill as well. Okay. Taysom Hill is not Randall Cunningham. Okay. I probably could close on him too and probably have a nice burst to the quarterback if I could just run straight in without being blocked. But let me tell you something. If anybody in the National Football League puts a hat on him or puts a blocker in front of him, he's dead in the water. He cannot beat a block to save his life. This is a freelance guy. This is not Lawrence Taylor. Okay, I saw somebody tonight say this is another Lawrence Taylor. Listen, Micah Parsons could not hold, to say it rated G, he could not hold Lawrence Taylor's cup of Gatorade. Okay.
Yeah, well, neither could anyone else.
I mean, if you think that Micah Parsons is better than Lawrence Taylor, you weren't born during those years.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. Okay, so Parsons, yeah, he's put up the stats this year. You know, everybody loves him. They all want to, get him going into the Pro Bowl and all these different things. But let me tell you something. That's not my cup of tea. He's a guy that takes half the plays off. He's a guy that like I said, how is Taysom Hill running for 100 yards if he's so good? Lawrence Taylor blew people up. I watched him do it all throughout my entire upbringing, running backs and stuff. So, yeah, he's got the stats. He's got the 10 sacks this season. He takes the easy plays, the easiest way. He gets the easiest possible plays is what he gets on the football field. And if he's contested or blocked, he's an embarrassment.
Well,
he has no power. He has no power. And he's stiff in the hips. If you saw in the pocket tonight, when Taysom Hill gave him a little move, he just went around in a circle like a coat hanger. So the guy is not, let me tell you something. If you think that Micah Parsons is a good football player, wait till you see Kayvon Thibodeau come out next year. That guy plays with real power that Micah Parsons can only dream of.
Yeah, Kayvon reminds me of Mario Williams and a little bit of Myles Garrett, those guys. Well, yeah, let's get this out of the way right now. When you're watching Micah Parsons, I am not seeing a standard linebacker, a Patrick Willis, a Navarro Bowman. I'm not seeing a guy who's just going to stand in there in a 4-3 or even a 3-4 and play linebacker. I think it's pretty apparent outside of the deflection on that coverage tonight that he's probably not built that way. He's going to be a pass rusher. When I watched him tonight, and I've seen him in a couple other games this year, he reminded me a lot of a young Aldon Smith, of a young Sean Merriman, guys that just could come off the edge and they could get those sacks. And it's almost like the defensive coordinator in Dallas has figured out how to use him, at least in his rookie. Let's just get that out of the way. He's a rookie, folks. I mean, he's in his early 20s. So I hear you. There's no way that anybody can say that he's a well-rounded linebacker. That just wouldn't be right. However, to have 10 sacks in your rookie season and to be finding your way to the quarterback, you're going to make a lot of money in this league. Here's what I foresee happening in the playoffs that will lend itself to the Daniel Kelly school of Micah Parsons assessment. And that is teams are going to run right at him in the playoffs. They're going to run right at him. They're going to pull guards. They're going to run off tackle, and they're going to run right at the kid to test him in the playoffs. So I expect to see that. But I'm not in the world of bus. I see a situational pass rusher, and we've seen these guys before. Clay Matthews. Did anybody, you look at Clay Matthews, I never saw a guy that was the most amazing, well-rounded linebacker of all time, but man, could he rush the passer, when he was put in those positions. So I'm hearing that in your voice. You're seeing a kid who's fast. I agree with you, Rashawn Slater.
When he wants to turn it on. It's up to Micah Parsons if he wants to play or not.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to be watching that. I'm going to watch if he's efforting in the next few games. I do agree when a big tackle gets our hands on him, that's a game over.
Done. And one more thing too. Micah Parsons' mouth will run him out of the National Football League. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, that
just a matter of time. I mean, this guy's talked about having a hit list. This guy's
Yeah.
called his defense the group of terrorists or something like this guy, he has a history of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time in the past. He's got a very violent temper. There's some off-field stuff that happened at Penn State before he was in the NFL that I went ahead and flagged him article as well. This guy is a ticking time bomb waiting to go off, and eventually he will go off in Dallas. And not in a good way. This is going to be a problem. And when you talk about playoffs, I'm not sure Dallas is making the playoffs.
I got to tell you, at this point, I thought there was a real chance they could lose the game tonight. At one point, they started to pull away late in the third and into the fourth quarter. But let's stay there. I mean, Dak looks like a gamer. I wouldn't put him in the top.
I like Dak a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't put him in the top 5 quarterbacks. I still wouldn't, but he's a gamer. He's a lot better than I thought he was going to be.
I gave him a blue chip grade back in 2019 when I looked at him. I like Dak a lot. I like his leadership, his maturity.
Yeah,
I like everything about Dak. I love the comeback. I love the tenacity. I love the perseverance. He's a true leader in every sense of the word.
Okay, I agree. So let's move to the running back room. What in the world was Zeke Elliott doing tonight? Why did he even play? I mean, but when you watch Pollard and you watch Zeke, you're seeing 2 different running backs. I mean, you're seeing one guy busts off a 58-yarder to the house. The other guy's becoming, I'm going to say this, and I hate it because I absolutely love the guy I'm about to mention, Todd Gurley. But I'm starting to see a familiar story here with Zeke, and a familiar one with Todd Gurley, where they went from the guys leading the league to suddenly they look at maybe like they've lost a step. Am I nuts? What are you seeing with Zeke?
No, that's what I'm seeing too. That's a great comparison, Stacy. Because some of these guys, in the world of scouting, we used to have, a grade we put past, next to the guy's name at the Jets with an arrow going up, an arrow going down, an arrow going sideways, meaning the player was ascending, descending, or basically staying about the same. Some of these guys kind of it's a slow fade, and some of these guys drop off a cliff. And I think we're seeing what you're just alluding to right now. There is absolutely positively nothing special about the way Ezekiel Elliott runs the ball. Not in terms of elusiveness, not in terms of power. There was one game this year, a few weeks back, I forget who they were playing, but he ran with real power. And I'm friends with the scouting director of the Cowboys. So I've talked about this offline. And he even said it's the most power he probably saw Zeke run in a couple of years. He's kind of a shell of himself. He's running off reputation. But when you look at and think about great running backs in the NFL, there is nothing special. I mean, we have 40 plus years, you and I, Stacy, both of us combined have seen the greatest to ever play this game who've come through the NFL. This guy doesn't have the elusiveness. He doesn't have the power. He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the burst. He has nothing right now. He looks like a shell of his own self. And I've always thought in the back of my mind that Tony Pollard is a better runner than he is, a pure runner. And tonight he showed that. And tonight, Tony Pollard made himself a lot of money on that run because he's going to go in the free agency. Now, Pollard doesn't have the size you want, ideally, as a starting running back in the NFL. But yeah, he should have never been out there. And really, that was a terrible decision. I mean, when you sit there, and this is a problem, Bone, I have to pick with a lot of teams that do this kind of thing. When you have a player, a star player who is noticeably banged up, and you continue to have him in the game, that says to me that organization doesn't give a damn about Ezekiel Elliott. They don't care at all about him. They just want to get him on the field because what happens? These players tend to get more and more banged up and more hurt, especially when you have the lead. Why is he in there on that play? He picked up the first down for 10 yards. They already had the game put away. He could have been seriously injured on that play. But teams do this kind of thing in the NFL. We're going to get more into this in a minute with Zach Wilson. I know you and I talked about a little bit offline. But why? Why would you have him out there when the game's put away? He's banged up. It makes no sense. It sends a terrible message to the player. It sends a terrible message to the organization. And, I mean, in a league where we're so concerned about concussion protocol, and if somebody even gets hit in the head with somebody's finger, they have to come off the field for a play practically to make sure to get checked out that the bell doesn't get rung. It doesn't seem like the league gives a damn about these players unless it's concussion related. And it bothers me. It really bothers me because I care about these players, even no matter what team they play for. It's just, I don't get it. Do you?
No, I mean, we should care about these players.
Absolutely.
This isn't some kind of damn sick gladiatorial thing, even though it's compared to that. These guys are men, they have families.
Right.
It was painful watching Zeke tonight for me. I mean, he's still, you can see the talent, but I really felt like on multiple runs, like I was watching one of my all-time favorite players in his prime, Todd Gurley with Atlanta last year. Like he's still got it inside 6-7 yards. He's got some umph, but I don't think anybody's afraid that he's going to bust one long like Pollard does. And I just get this, to your point, do they care about these guys, especially in those running back rooms? Because these guys seem to be getting churned out now. I mean, look what's going on in Carolina with Christian McCaffrey is now out again for the rest of the season.
Again,
we're just starting to see the life of a running back, and people scream about them getting paid. Dudes, get paid. Roger Goodell made $28 million this year. These running backs who are getting hit in the head and the knees and the back, I want them to get paid, because when they're healthy, they're fun to watch. And this game is still won by the running game. You have to play the run and play defense. So interesting assessment on Zeke. I didn't like what I saw.
No, it's bad. And just to piggyback for a second, Stacey, of what you're saying, it seems like how the game kind of evolves. Like teams will do different things. It's like when the Wildcat came out or different systems come out, teams try to copy it. The game evolves. We're seeing the game evolve in a very strange way because the game was built on a lot of running backs and stuff throughout the decades. The position of running back is being valued less and less in the NFL. I'm seeing, for example, this year, I believe PFF, right? They just post their top 100 2022 NFL draft prospects list, right? Kind of the top 100. And the first running back that shows up on the list is like at number 57.
What?
The guy from Michigan State, I forget his name off the top of my head. We don't have earpieces with people telling us information like the big boys do. We don't have statisticians, and we don't have teleprompters and all that jazz that make these guys look so brilliant. But yeah, it's like, I mean, there's nobody really rated in the top 30 or hardly the top 2 rounds even. And so it's just interesting. I mean, we've seen the fullback become almost extinct. And now we're seeing the running back kind of phase out because there's such a pressure that the old saying, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. We're seeing more and more pressure to see more and more offensive display. The game is evolving in a very offensive sense right now. And the rules are all geared towards the offense. And we're seeing, they want the passing game. They want the receivers. They want the excitement. They want the big touchdowns and all that. And the running back is slowly, I feel like almost like losing, it's just we're seeing it more and more. It's a different type of NFL than what we grew up, for sure.
Oh, without question, man. Oh yeah. There's no Tom Rathmans. There's no, the
You're in good hands with Mike Allstott.
I mean, there's just that fullback position. Although I've seen brief clips of it in that northeastern town of New England, where some guy you used to work for continues to value the fundamentals of football and some of the base schematics or schemes of the game. So I think if there's ever going to be a fullback, we're talking about running backs, and you look at what Belichick is doing in New England with Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris, and he's got this platoon of guys that are constantly have fresh legs that are coming in and playing running back. And yeah, take notice, everybody. I suppose there's other teams doing that, but I think he does it maybe better than anybody else. So
he does everything. He does everything better than everybody else.
Yeah, I want to get to him before we close out tonight. Briefly, before we move off this game, I at some point I want to talk about the embarrassment of riches in that wide receiver room in Dallas, because between CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, who I think is just disgustingly underrated.
Yeah. Somebody he'll be somewhere else next year, maybe.
Oh yeah, Detroit should be chasing that kid. Yeah, they need somebody like him. So
yeah.
But what's the impact to the Washington football team? And big news in Washington again this week. So I'm gonna stab you here. RG3 is now coming out with a tell-all book. We're going to read all about the scuzz and dirt of the Daniel Snyder-led Washington football team. And I know it's near and dear to your heart. You almost got a job there under Bruce Allen. Then he was out. What can we expect to see? And then also, Cowboys win tonight. what are you expecting out of the Washington football team? Are they going to for the month of December?
Well, Washington plays Dallas twice in 3 weeks. I think everything's going to be, all the cards will be on the table after those two games. So that'll be decided there on the field. So that's what I'm looking at there. I expect Washington to win the division and beat Dallas. I just don't. I mean, history is a great predictor of the future, and we've seen Dallas fall apart now for 25 years at the end of the seasons. And so, yeah, that's what I'm expecting. But this RG3 thing, what a fiasco. The whole,
it's going to be so ugly. It's going to be ugly.
Here's the problem. Okay. It is, first of all, I totally 100% don't think RG3 should have ever been put on the field against Seattle in that playoff game. No. I actually lost a job with writing for, a Washington website. Because of my comments about RG3 back then even. And so I just don't think it's something that, should ever happen. He was in the knee brace. The knee buckle was terrible. He's never the same, because RG3's entire game was based on his athleticism and making defenses adjust to him on the move. He never could run a defense. People knew that when he was coming into the league. Once he lost the athletic ability, he couldn't read defenses. He was a slow fade till he's out of the league. So now he comes out and tries to write this book and do all this now, right? This is a very weird situation, and it's setting a very strange precedent for the future as well, because it's almost like a Deshaun Watson thing all over again. With now there's going to be another set of allegations, right? Allegations that are unsubstantiated. Anybody can say anything in a book, right? They can say anything they want to, yeah. and they will, right? And they will, right? Okay, so it's just a bad look. Washington gave RG3 the chance to come in there and play. His thank you card to the owner, Daniel Snyder, is writing this book. It's just a bad look. I think all these years later to come out and say these kinds of things, and RG3 can kiss any chance he has of getting back in the NFL on the football field goodbye. And probably he was already at that point anyways. But surviving Washington, that's, I posted something on Facebook today. I said maybe the fans of Washington should file a class action lawsuit against him for underachieving in Washington. How far do you want to take this thing, right? We're disappointed. He didn't win a Super Bowl. He didn't live up to his billing in the first round. So we're disappointed. So we're gonna sue for I don't know what, but just disappointment. So I don't know. It's a bad look. It really is. Yeah. And of course, what are we going to have in the future now? What are we going to have? Are we going to have all these different players when they leave a team? They're going to come out with these bombshell books. Is this kind of the new trend that's going to happen in the NFL?
It is.
Yeah. And everybody's going to start, saying all these things. And I don't know.
Yeah. They've already dumped on John Gruden, who said some terrible things. Then they dumped on him. You can bet that RG3 is going to have stuff to say. I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm definitely going to read the book, because I want to make sure that he's got a couple chapters in there titled "Me and Kirk Cousins." That's all I care about. That was one of the most fascinating drafts, the most fascinating situations. And of course, Kirk Cousins, a lot of people are saying, should be an MVP talk this year. His numbers are amazing. And I know, but they're looking at his
numbers. Overrated player in the National Football League. We all know how it's going to end in Minnesota. He's going to find a way to choke and fold again, like he does every year. And then he'll come back in the locker room and, you like that? You like that? Yeah. No, we don't like it. You get paid over $100 million. The guy has never won. I think was it just one playoff game, to his credit, in his career. He's never come close to a Super Bowl. It's just the team doesn't respond to him. Don't get me started about Kirk Cousins. That's one of my best days in Washington is when he left. I wrote a letter in 2017 begging Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, when I was going for the GM's job there, begging him not to sign Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, well, you got your wish.
Absolutely.
In fact, RG3 ended up on the Browns for a short time, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was. It's going to be, look, I don't want to read about strippers and cocaine and all this other crazy stuff that he's probably going to write about. I don't care. I don't want to read about it. I do want to read how he dealt with Kirk Cousins, because that was a weird, same draft a couple quarterbacks, there had to have been a fight in the war room. There's something just off about that whole story. And I'm dying to hear his take on it, because I'm sure that he has a take. So I'm interested in seeing that piece. The Dan Snyder stuff and all the smut and all that crap, I don't have any interest in knowing about it. It just, if it's garbage, deal with it. But I'm not going to guess that John Gruden, while working for ESPN, was the only problem going on in Washington. I'm sure there were others, and RG3 he's going to go scorched earth in that book. He is, because it seems pretty apparent to me that he believes his injury and the way it was handled is part of the reason he's out of the league now. And he's now a commentator for college football. I can almost guarantee you we're going to get that. We're going to get that take. So kind of interesting. Moving on from that garbage, Washington football team, Taylor Heinicke. Wow, man. Tonight, I'm sure in your house it was interesting because you really wanted to see those Cowboys lose, but the Redskins win. And they continue to really be one of those teams you look at and think, I don't know that I want to face these guys. I mean, they gave the Buccaneers a scare, the GOAT, Tom Brady, a scare last year.
Right.
So what do you see happening? And I'm just going to throw it in here instead of at the end of the show. They play Las Vegas this weekend. What do you see happening with the Washington football team versus the Las Vegas Raiders?
They'll win. They'll find a way to win.
Wow.
They're going to make this exciting heading down the stretch, I believe. And this is no surprise to me. I mean, the entire Washington football universe has been against Taylor Heinicke all offseason on social media and everything. And of course, I came on May. I mean, I'm months ahead of the curve, Stacy. I came on May saying that Washington
Trendsetter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm months ahead of. I mean, I'm months ahead of these storylines, right? I came out and said that Taylor Heinicke, Washington has their franchise quarterback. It's Heinicke. It's dated right there in Draft Diamonds. I believe it's like May 23rd. I came out with the article. It's easy math, easy money. I mean, I know what I saw in Heinicke from the very beginning. The guy is all heart. He has a heart of a champion. And it's no surprise to me. I mean, and not only that, but his hero is Brett Favre, who I greatly respect, is a guy who's a gunslinger and basically would play until someone carried him off the field. So there's very few Taylor Heineckes in the National Football League that go all out like that. Most of these guys just play sometimes when they want to, kind of like Micah Parsons, backhand their paycheck and go home. Rain or shine, rain or shine, they get paid the same thing. They don't care. Most of these guys are in the NFL because they can't get paid to run track or to do something else, some other passion they had in college. Some of these guys are out there and stuff. So, but Heinicke actually cares. He actually wants to win, and it shows. He's excited. He has a childlike excitement and exuberance when they do well, and that kind of a thing is scary to face. He's a little bit different player, and Washington has their quarterback for quite a while with Heinicke, I believe, and he fits the Washington football team DNA. And when I say he fits the DNA, they've never been a team historically. They've never been a team that has got, that basically has gone with these first round draft picks or these prima donna quarterbacks. Every time they brought in a first round guy, whether it's RG3, who barely survived in Washington, or a Heath Schuler back in the mid 90s, or they bring in a high profile name like a Jeff George or something, the guys always fall on their face. It's the guys who are the misfits, the guys who are the cast-offs, the guys who are the free agents, the people that nobody thinks about. Those are the guys that Washington does well with. If you look historically, since I've been a kid, we saw it with Joe Theismann, we saw it with Doug Williams, we saw it with Mark Rippon, and now we're seeing it again with Heinicke. He fits this team perfectly, and the team responds to him, and they're going to win with him. They don't need to draft a quarterback in Washington. They don't need to sign any free agents. They don't need Aaron Rodgers. They don't need any of this nonsense. They have their quarterback. That's the end of the discussion with Taylor Heinicke for the Washington Nation. You guys have your quarterback. It's number 4.
And they got pieces around him. I mean, Antonio Gibson went off for over 100
right.
yards, and Terry McLaurin is so underrated.
Right.
I look, you and I agree. Those are my kind of guys. I'm a Kurt Warner guy. I'm a Brett Favre guy. I'm a Dan Fouts guy. I'm gunslingers. I like guys that stand in the pocket, take their hits, deliver the football. All 3 of my guys, Hall of Famers. The guys you mentioned, some Hall of Famers. Yeah. I think Heinicke has got it, and it's been proven over and over. So I too expect them to. I don't even know if you can call it an upset. I think they beat the Raiders this weekend, and the NFC East suddenly becomes interesting because the Eagles are having one of their classic, roller coaster seasons where they just look a little bit dangerous. So
right.
NFC East, I think, is far more interesting than any of us expected. Okay, switching gears, just segue right into another subject to close out our show, this late night show this week. Got to talk about your New York Jets. I know that you are dropping an article on us tomorrow or the next day. Zach Wilson. What in the world? Why are they playing this kid, a rookie, their franchise quarterback with a knee injury? Didn't they get Joe Flacco? What are they doing?
Right. Well, I mean, I don't like Zach Wilson to begin with, which is very documented. I'm the loudest and only voice in America pre-draft saying he's going to be a bust. I mean, I look like gold right now with the top three quarterbacks. I said all three of them are going to be bust, and
I didn't like any of them either.
Yeah, there we sit right now. But yeah, I mean, getting back to Wilson for a second and circling back to him, regardless of the ceiling on Wilson, which I know there is none. I mean, I wrote an article before the game last Sunday that said for Sports Illustrated, New York Jets, it said, they were all trying to build him up and be like, oh, he took all these mental reps and all this nonsense. And Robert Salah talks about this nonsense, how he's watching himself on film. Well, doesn't every quarterback in the league watch himself on film? I mean, they make it sound like this is so special, and he's learning the speed of the game. He's mentally going through it in his mind every time one of the quarterbacks drop back. And it was just pure and utter nonsense coming out of the Jets building. So I wrote an article for Sports Illustrated, New York Jets, and I said, expect the same, if not worse, version of Zach Wilson, says former Jet scout, right? It wasn't more than 10 minutes into the game. He threw that pass that bounced off his player's back, and it was intercepted. It was one of the worst looking passes anybody's seen in the NFL probably for the last decade or more. So I bet regardless of the ceiling on Wilson, which he's a bust. I mean, I'm coming out and saying it again. I'll continue to beat on this drum. But here again, we go back to what we talked about earlier in the show, Stacey, about Ezekiel Elliott. We go back to this again with Zach Wilson. Last week in the article, I pointed out that why are they trying to race him back to, I mean, in their minds, right? In their minds, he's their franchise quarterback. So I mean, at least that's what they're portraying to the general public. But why would you race? They were 2-8 at that point. Okay, no chance of the playoffs. And they're trying to race him back into the starting lineup. So I put in the article, there's a chance and a risk also for injury. And would you know it? No more than probably 5 hours after my article came out for Sports Illustrated, there it is. He's limping around the field. He took a shot and he ran out of bounds or something on himself. He's limping all over the place. It's the same knee they're looking at the sideline as he hurt with the PCL 4 weeks prior against New England. And now all of a sudden they're looking at the same knee again. Now it gets better, right? After he limps around and they look at the knee from a team doctor standpoint on the sidelines, they put him back in the game. Right.
It's nuts.
And then check this out. After the game, Wilson himself comes out with comments saying, well, yeah, the knee probably wasn't 100%. So he admits it himself that the knee was 100%. And now what are the Jets doing in response to all this information? They're starting him again this week. What's going to happen? It's mind blowing.
I don't get it.
What's going to happen, I'm going to predict it on our show, so we can be the first, the only place you hear this in America. Turn up your volume. And I never like to predict an injury of a player, but this is exactly speaking. I mean, it's kind of interesting how the show kind of all ties together, because this is exactly what we saw in Washington with RG3, Robert Griffin. This is exactly what we saw. They raced him back before he was ready. He had the big knee brace on. And if you remember the play when he blew out his knee, nobody even hit him. The knee it was a low snap. The knee buckled underneath him and he was done. And so was his career. And now he's writing books and he's on ESPN. So why would the Jets, when you have this kind of information, why would they put this young man's career at jeopardy like this is beyond me. It makes no sense. And it's reckless and irresponsible of the Jets organization to be putting him on the field this week. Why not just put, I mean, I came out with an article in September that said after he got sacked like 6 times the first game, and it could have been 15 sacks. I counted them. I watched the film, and he got pressured and hit a number of other times. And I'm like, you have to like circle back. Just say, you know what? I wrote an article that says either bench him or put him on the bench or trade him. But if you continue to put him out there, he is going to get hurt. And sure enough, 4 or 5 weeks after I wrote the article, he got hurt. Now, the problem is if they continue to play him and he blows out the knee, then what?
Yeah, it's exactly why I brought it up. I think it's crazy. They've got Joe Flacco. They have a lost season. They're going absolutely nowhere. They've already lost Michael Carter. They've been banged up along the front line with Micah Parsons. What are they doing? I mean, this seems so incredibly stupid. You've got Joe Flacco sitting there. And so I'm sitting here watching this and I'm just thinking, this is David Carr all over again. They're just going to get this guy killed. Typical New York Jet type dynamic, unfortunately, which is a real shame. You can tell this kid looks like a streaky backyard sandlot quarterback. He's always going for the
That's
big
exactly
play.
what I called him in my article.
Yeah,
that's
he's just a big play guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just wants to sandlot it and everything. So the fundamentals are off. Salah is a really good coach, but he's not an offensive-minded coach. And I know that he's got one of the LaFleur brothers there, I believe, an offensive coordinator. But it's just one of those things you look at. You got Joe Flacco there. What in the world are you doing? If you really believe he's their franchise quarterback, why are you putting him in harm's way like this? It's very interesting. Conspiracy theorists, cue the Twilight Zone music. It seems really stupid. So, I would not be surprised if you're absolutely correct. And we're watching highlights on Sunday that make us all cringe for this kid.
Yeah.
Because he's not a bad kid. He's just, he's in a bad situation. And we see this all the time, don't we? We've both been watching football since we were boys. These quarterbacks that come out of college, it seemed like they've got some talent they could develop, but they get drafted in the wrong place and they just disappear. They vaporize. So on that note, as we close out this week, because I forgot to pound you with it earlier, my choice for offensive rookie of the year or rookie of the year is number 10 in New England. That kid from the neck up is showing the entire league that Bill Belichick is in fact a genius, because you can just see him, the moxie, the way he reads defenses. He is in a system tailor-made for him. And I think Mac Jones is really special. And the Patriots are suddenly scary again. We got 1 year off.
Right.
We got 1 year off without the evil empire, and they're back.
Right. Right. Well, just really quickly to your point about Mac Jones, Belichick is the smartest man in the room, but I'm also in the room too, because I had him rated as my QB2. I went on Jason McIntyre's Straight Fire show, the guy that worked for Fox Sports pre-draft, and said that Mac Jones is a polished version of Trevor Lawrence. And he said, I've never heard anybody come on my show before and talk like this. So he like QB2. I said he was going to New England pre-draft before New England ever select him. It's in my report. And this guy, the thing about Mac Jones, it's so impressive. If you watch these college quarterbacks, you need to look for this. The thing that he had 2 things going for him, big things going for him. Number one, he looked like he was born to play under the lights. He played the highest levels of competition and did not blink. Number 2, he had great ball placement. I don't mean good ball placement. And when I say ball placement, I'm not talking about completed passes or accuracy, because everybody says, oh, Zach Wilson had this much accuracy or BYU. I'm not talking about people jumping up in the air or sliding on the ground to catch the passes like they did for Zach Wilson at BYU. I'm talking about the balls put on the hands, right on the money. So those great receivers that Alabama had, right? Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle, they could just reach out, grab it, and keep running, right? Yeah. That's yak, like Joe Montana, the yakety yak, the yards after the catch. They just keep running, just like, Joe Montana used to do with Jerry Rice and John Taylor back in the day. They just run right through the pass and keep going. That's what Mac Jones does. He's not just a system quarterback. He's not Trent Dilfer. He's not, he's not one of these guys that just is better because of all the players around him. They made the same excuse for him in Alabama, said, oh, it's because of the great receivers they have in Alabama. Wrong. He went to New England's doing the same thing. This guy is a very good quarterback. A great head on his shoulders. And I agree with you. Rookie of the year, very, very possible. I just mentioned that thing about Rashawn Slater because I wanted to point out the fact that he killed Micah Parsons.
I know you did. You look for every opportunity on that. Take a shot at Micah and family. Well, my friend, that is where we will wrap it up this week. It is late out there in the Florida Keys. And
hey, I'm ready to get going. I'm ready to get going.
Well, glad you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have another article I have to write for Draft Diamonds about Kayvon Thibodeau. Even though he's a really good-looking player, it's very scary that he only averages 40 tackles a year and 6 sacks over a year for 3 seasons. This is not a guy that has big sack numbers and big tackle numbers, and he's just very average against the run, and he puts up more pressures than he does sacks, even at the college level. Could be a real concern heading into the NFL draft, but I have that article still to write, which is going to really get people because people, they're talking again, generational talent. You know how it goes.
I'll be fast asleep, man. God bless you. That's awesome.
Asleep?
I do have some feel. I'm in duck country out here in Oregon, and I'll tell you, Kayvon looks special. I tend to agree with you. I've got concerns, particularly at number 1. I don't see that. I don't see anybody in this draft. I think this is a weak draft. If anything, this is a depth draft. We're going to do a whole show on that here on the Dirty Pocket with the Scout. We'll get into that a little bit, but good luck. We're going to let you run to write about Kayvon Thibodeau, and we will look forward to that on NFLDraftDiamonds.com. Folks, if you want to catch us, find us on Twitter at The Dirty Pocket. As mentioned, Daniel Kelly can be found SI Lions. He can be found SI Jets and at NFLDraftDiamonds.com, as well as Whatever It Takes book, story of how he got into the NFL. And then for myself, you can find me on Gridiron Icon, the podcast, or gridironicon.com. But come join us. Join our Facebook group, The Blindside Blitz. We are alive there, and we love to chat it up. You feel no pain, no 15-yard penalties for taunting there. So come join us at The Blindside Blitz on Facebook. My friend, the Scout, Daniel Kelly, we're going to cut you loose back to writing the 10 million articles you have due, and I'm going to bed. So,
hey, I have a Pepsi and a smile going. We didn't talk about my drink tonight.
We didn't do the drink.
It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm drinking a Pepsi. this is my bedtime snack.
You're nuts, man. You're nuts.
Thanks for the compliment.
Well, folks, thanks for joining us. As always, we appreciate it. Like, subscribe on our YouTube channel, The Dirty Pocket. And myself and the Scout will see you next week.
Sounds good. Enjoy the football. Thanks for watching.